y'all, it's Kelly from Dixie Darlins Tumblers, and today I actually don't have a tumbler for y'all. I have a fun little project that I've worked on. So I guess about a month or so ago, Lisa Dempsey, my friend with Lisa Stella Designs, and I were sitting there one night and we were just sharing files back and forth, looking at different quotes and things, and she just kind of said, "Oh my goodness, is that tortoise shell?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think it is." And it was just embedded in kind of the words of a saying that I saw. And she's like, "You know what, we should make tortoiseshell a thing just like leopard is. We should switch it up." Well, once I started looking for tortoiseshell stuff, there really wasn't a lot you could find. I mean, you could find some vinyl patterns, but it wasn't going to give you that same look as a true tortoiseshell. So at the same time, Lisa said that she needed a new little notebook to keep her orders in. So I thought, okay, let me see how I can make her a little tortoiseshell notebook. So these are just acrylic blanks that I got from the Vinyl Cottage, and I'll link those in the description box below as well as a discount code. And these are not the larger 8.5 by 11s, these are the smaller ones. I knew for using this folder that I was gonna have to have the smaller size. And so y'all, I just went on Amazon and I found these, basically they're like polyacrylic folders, I think. And you could get them in so many varieties. And I thought, okay, well this I can apply with probably a spray adhesive onto the clear acrylic blank, and it will really hold that true tortoiseshell look. So I thought I've got to try it at least. And so here I'm just trimming off the edges. I'm trying to get that first really straight line, you can see. So once I get it on the cup and kind of size down to approximate, I can go back with my craft knife and trim off the excess. But I'm really just trying to get that first, you know, trim off the excess here where it had the accordion style folders on it. And these are folders I found, and every time I go on there, there's a different version of them. So there's some made by different vendors. So you guys just find like which pattern you like, and it doesn't have to be tortoiseshell. I just thought what a fun idea to kind of maintain the true tortoiseshell look of that clear look without doing a true vinyl, which would give it not quite as much of the 3D effect. And I will list the actual folders that I used for this one in the description box below. It just happened to be one I just literally searched out, tortoiseshell folders, and this was one of the options, and every time I search there literally is a different one. So these acrylic blanks that come from the Vinyl Cottage, they come with this covering over them, so you can see that I'm just going to remove the first side. So I'm going to leave that backing on the other side. I've found that it just seems to protect it if I'm going to put epoxy on it. On the top, it protects the bottom, and when you peel it off, the epoxy will come off a lot easier. So you can see I'm just trying to kind of get it as a basic size, and then I am going to actually use my spray adhesive and then trim off the excess with my craft knife is what my thought was, and it actually worked out pretty well that way. So here you can see I've laid the acrylic blank down on top of it, and I have not adhered it yet to the acrylic blank. But I am taking my craft knife and I'm basically using my acrylic blank as a guide just to run a little edge down through there so I can go back. I am going to have to go back with the scissors and actually cut this, but that at least gave me a guide of where to start. And then it wouldn't have so much to trim off once I got the folder adhered to the acrylic blank. So you can kind of see it does create that seam, but I did have to go back in with my scissors. These are a little bit stiffer, you know, to deal with than just a vinyl. So I'm just going to go back in and use that as my guide to trim off the excess before I apply it to the acrylic blank. And then once I've got pretty much the excess trimmed off, I am just going to kind of lay it here, just make sure that all my corners meet up, that it's going to cover the area. I don't mind having overlap, but I just wanted to make sure that I hadn't cut it too short. So I would say caution with the wind on that one. Just make sure that you don't trim it too short. I knew that there was a little area here that where I had trimmed it and it wasn't laying right. So I'm just going to go back with my scissors and trim that off, and then I'm going to get it ready to apply it to the acrylic blank. And then I'm just going to go back and I'm going to double check myself just to make sure it's lining up really well. And then I'm going to get my spray adhesive out and I'm going to attempt to do this. So this is just a spray adhesive. Y'all see me use this with foils possibly. and it's actually a stenciling spray. So the other spray that I have that I've been using for the foils lately too is a 3M 77 multi-purpose in the red can. So that would work. I think really any adhesive would work. This was just the spray that I had, and so you can see I spray a pretty good coat of it here, and then I'm just going to lay that folder piece right down on top of it. And you can see I basically just lay it right down, press all the air bubbles out, and I'm just kind of taking a paper towel. I didn't want to take any kind of tool or anything that might scratch this folder up, so I'm just taking a paper towel and I'm just kind of rubbing out any areas that look like they're gonna bubble up. And then you can see I'm just gonna take my craft knife here and I'm just gonna run it right down that edge. It's just like you're doing the rim of a cup basically. I'm just gonna follow that edge right down through there. And then after I have all 4 corners trimmed off, I've got these holes we got to do something with. So you could go in here with a hole punch before you applied this. I wasn't that smart, y'all. So I basically take my little craft knife here and I'm just going to trim these out. I will also throw a word of caution here. Very carefully do this because it will make the folder, like for me, it wanted to lift off a little bit. And then also I just had to be really careful to create that perfect little hole. So I knew that I was going to go back in with epoxy over it that would, you know, like kind of smooth out the rough edges, but I did try to be really careful. So if you guys don't do this with a hole punch before, make sure you're really careful. And I kind of just went at it just very slowly, a little bit at a time, to kind of carve these little holes out here. And then basically after I got everything trimmed off, I could go ahead and add epoxy. I didn't need to let it dry or anything. And I had mixed up epoxy for several different things. I would say that if you mix up 20 milliliters of epoxy, you've mixed up way too much. It really didn't take that much. So I'm just gonna lay it on the cup, and then I take my little silicone tool, and then I'm just gonna use my little silicone tool with it's kind of like an angled tip, and I'm gonna use that to smooth it out. And I would just say that I've learned with acrylic blanks that less is more to start with. I can always go back in and add some. This is Counterculture's medium viscosity artist resin that I'm using on this. You could use fast set, you could use medium viscosity. I think on acrylic blanks it's pretty much, I know on molds you're not supposed to use a fast set just because of the heat of it. But I think on these acrylic blanks, I had let this sit for a little while because I've been working on cups, and then by the time I got the folder ready, so it is a little bit tougher to smooth out. But I'm going to go in here with a torch after this and just heat it up anyway to pop any bubbles, so it does tend to run. So that's why I always think I don't want there to be any big holes in it, but I definitely think that less is more on this, because once you heat it up, it does tend to run, and it's going to run through those holes and it's going to run off the edges, and then you're just going to have a big mess. And then once basically you've gotten your full surface covered around the holes, I just use this tool very carefully to go around the edges and just make sure that it's touched all those places, and then around where I've carved out the holes. And I try to be really careful with that. And I do wipe off any excess here. Y'all wear gloves. I know I'm going to get in trouble from my dad because I did not. And then I just kind of set it up and I let it dry for about 8 hours. So then I had April at the Vinyl Cottage create this, or she printed off this decal for me. I created it. I will have it in the file section of my Facebook group. And I will tell y'all, if you're not familiar with a file section in groups, it used to be where you could go access them from anywhere. Now you have to be on a laptop. I mean, yes, you have to be on a desktop or a laptop. You have to be in that browser to access the file section. You can't access it from your iPhone or your iPad, anything like that anymore. But I will have this in the file section of the Dixie Darlins Tumblers Facebook group. And April is not going to have this on her website, but you can download it from the file section and then send it to her as a custom request. She is not printing this on a clear the transparent vinyl, but she is printing this on just the regular adhesive vinyl, and that's what she did for me, and I love how it turned out. So I'm just going to place this on the center, and after I've let my layer of epoxy dry, and then I am going to go back in with another layer just like I did the first time and cover this up, because I do want this vinyl to be covered. So y'all can see this is like this transparent. I'm just like totally obsessed with this here. And then you can see I've actually done the back as well. So I just literally went through the same steps of cutting out the back of the folder, and then I placed it on the acrylic, because I had a set of two, so the other acrylic blank, I did a layer of epoxy, and the back one's basically finished. But now that I've applied my decal on the front section, I'm going to go back in, and you can see I'm just going through the same process. I'm using Counterculture's medium viscosity artist resin. You're not going to use probably 20 milliliters to do this. Obviously I've mixed up, I think this would have probably been 60, because I'm sure I would have done a cup too. And probably some more acrylic blanks, but I'm just going to spread that out in the same process, and then I'm going to apply my hardware. And y'all, I just love how this turned out. I know it's a quick little project, but I thought it was something fun that you guys could do as gifts for Christmas as well. I've done several variations of this, so y'all stay tuned to my social media or in the Facebook group just so you can see some of the variations that I've done, but they are so much fun. They're just a fun little gift. And then you can apply all kinds of paper in this center. Like I'm gonna do colored paper for the one I'm doing for Lisa, and then a little, you know, like where you can put business cards, and just so much fun. There's so many fun things that you can add to it. And I will link everything that I use, the hardware and the paper and everything. I'll link that in the description box below, so y'all make sure you check that out. And then after I've let this dry for about 8 hours, I'm just going to go in and I'm going to apply my little binder clips. I got them on Amazon. I'll link them for y'all. And then the paper inside. And I did some fun little colored paper for this one. And I did glitter the back side. So you can add glitter to the back side of this. I added just an opal glitter in it that kind of showed through. I thought it turned out super pretty. So I hope that y'all enjoyed it. Y'all like, share, comment, subscribe, all that fun, crazy stuff. Thank y'all so much for watching, and I'll see y'all again soon.